Hi, I'm Kristen Pipkin, and I'm here in the Hart Auditorium where musical artist David Archuleta will be performing on Saturday at 7:30 p.m. Now, he will also be having a book signing for his new book, Cores of Strength, on Thursday at Deseret Book at 7 p.m. Now, I was able to speak with him on the phone, and he shared some insights to his new book and his interest for coming back to Rexburg.
I was actually approached by the publishing company about it, and at first I was like, oh, I don't know, but then it's like, after thinking about it, and other people did encourage me to, do it because of the opportunity it was, and it's like, this is a chance for me to finally talk to people, like one-on-one almost,
Yeah.
and be able to let them know, hey, this is me, this is my story, my life, coming from, it isn't from like the news or anything like that. It's this is my story I'm giving to people, and I get to talk. A lot of people, because people wonder why I am the way I am. I felt like, well, in order for people to know that, I have to let them know about my beliefs. And I try to not talk so much about that, so I didn't sound cheesy and preachy, but it's like, I think this is the right time to go more into that. And so I talk more about that and how it's changed the way I see my life. People are curious about the way I am, and it's what really just motivated me to do it is I thought it was a good way to share the reason why I do things and why I am the way I am, because a lot of people ask that. And just to go from the experiences I've had so far, just because I'm 19 doesn't mean that, just because you're young doesn't mean you don't have something to say and something to share. And, there are a lot of kids who go through a lot. I was in Washington, D.C. yesterday, or yesterday and 2 days ago, with all these kids from the Children's Miracle Network, and they've just gone through so much, and they range from 4 to 15, and it was cool just to see how good of an attitude they had, even through all the things that they went through. There was like a kid from each state, and they're like car accidents and cancer, leukemia, bone cancer, and just they're just tough kids, and it's like, man, they're such examples, not just for kids their own age, but for people older too. And I think, a lot of times people underestimate younger people and what they have to say. Well, Rexburg, Idaho, seriously has been like the best crowds I've ever had.
Wow.
They've been the most, just, they've just been really great crowds and just really great people there, and I, just really enjoyed it. Some of my favorite shows were in Idaho, just because everyone in Idaho has been so supportive, and I've just really appreciated it. No, I guess the only challenge is trying to get the right songs that are good, are well balanced. Because I'm still, do pop music, and so a lot of songs are just normal pop songs. But I also like to get the songs that have meaning in them, and that's what I've really been trying to get in this next album making process. Because I'm making the next album, and there's still those pop songs, but I still like, even if they're like a typical thing to be talked about, I like to give my perspective on it, and so it's more realistic to me in the way I view things. But I also like to look for songs that have that more, positive...
Just like more depth, maybe?
Yeah, more depth in the message. I think that's important, and I think there's some songs that have some really good messages this time around that I'm looking forward to being on the album, and then also some that are just kind of fun and kind of, just like, woo, kind of like my mind, because my brain's kind of loopy and spacey, but I like having those songs, because it's like, even though I'm loopy and stuff, I like to put turn that into just a positive and just make songs that feel good, because it's like, yeah, I do have a hard time focusing a lot, and and
I think we can all sympathize with that.
yeah, but it's like you can still have a good time, enjoy life, and keep a positive attitude and keep moving forward. Yeah, I had a lot more influence this time, because instead of trying to say, instead of saying, okay, how can I put myself in this position, or how can I see from this person's perspective? Most of the songs are from my perspective, even if I didn't write them. I believe in what they're saying.
Right.
Or it's even if it's not a situation I necessarily was in, they're all experiences that I've been able to say, this is what I want to talk about, and this is what I've seen, and this is what I want to say. And it feels really good to be able to do that. Both. I think they tie in together, music and the gospel. I mean, that's the reason why I do music, is because God, I feel like God has given me these chances. The book is one of them. It's like He keeps pushing you past what you think are your limits, and you get surprised because you think, oh, I can't do that, or I don't have what it takes to get that finished. But then He's like, you know what? Here's the chance. It's up to you whether you're going to decide to take it on or not, but I've given you the opportunity, and, you've asked for ways you can help out and use your life well. Here it is, and it's up to you to take the chance or not, but I will never give you anything you can't handle, and you just have, even though it can get, like, oh, I don't want to do that, or I can't do that, it's so hard, but you just have to remember that God's on your side, and that He'll give you the strength that you need, that you don't think you have at the start. But when you decide to go for it and know that it's the right thing to do, He'll take care of the rest. All of this is done for the Lord anyway.
Right.
I feel like He's the one who's given me this chance. He's the one who's allowed me to do music. I feel like, when I was writing the book, actually, I was thinking of the person I was working with. They're like, remember. I'm like, I can't remember how I felt, like with when I first felt music, and it was like, I don't remember. I was 6 years old.
Right.
How am I supposed to remember? But when you really take time to think about it, I did start remembering how it felt and what was going on in my mind. So this book was a great brain exercise for me, and using my memory and going back to those moments where I first, had music or other special things in my life. And it's like, you know what? I remember how I felt, and I felt that before now. Like I've felt that several times before, and I didn't realize it, but I was feeling the Spirit. And it's so weird to think. I was like, that is crazy. Like I couldn't believe that, the Lord really was there and involved in my life, even though I was young. And, I was just 6 years old, but I remember feeling that when I would listen to music and what triggered my desires for music in the first place. And it's just neat to look back on that. And, I just feel like because He's the one who's given it to me, I really do know that He's given it since saying, hey, David, I'm going to let you have this because, it's going to be a real blessing to have music in your life. But I need you to be responsible with it and use it the way I'm expecting you to. I need you to do some certain things, and I need you to make sure you do as much good as you can with it. If you take it for granted and abuse it, I'll take it away from you. And it's just as simple as that. But, I mean, when you do the things He wants you to anyway, those are the most fulfilling things anyway. I don't know. I don't know, because Um,
Wow.
well, you know, modest is definitely hottest.
There you go. Good answer.
I know,
You need to write that down.
Great girls, yeah. It just depends where you are. If they know that you're going to be there and show up to see you, it's different than if you're just at like a restaurant or at a store just walking around, and then people are like, is that who I think it is? But as long as you keep moving fast, you're usually not bothered too much or anything. And I mean, a lot of people are able to really, you know, do pretty normal things. It's just, it's just when people know they're going to be there, that's when it gets a little crazy, like events or at a concert or I guess malls or something like that. But it just depends where you are. I guess, you know, the weirdest thing I always remember is just when this lady came up to me and she just was like, "Oh, and started screaming and stuff when I was running to my car. She just grabbed me and was trying to kiss me. I was like, oh my gosh, I was trying to push her away. And she was like in her late 30s, early 40s. It was weird.
Oh my goodness gracious.
It just made me feel really uncomfortable. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that a tour will be following soon after the album is released. And I know that they're talking about the album coming out late September, but you never know what's going to happen in the end. Yeah. But that's the plan right now. And I'm sure there'd be some touring and shows after that. It's just to keep, right now it's just important to keep going with music, I guess. I wasn't expecting to be doing this while I was still a teenager. Like, it came a lot faster than I was expecting. And, it came faster than I thought I was ready for it. But, it's just one of those things that's like, hey, God has a plan for you, and you may not always understand it, and it may not be the typical normal course that other people may take, but there's definitely a reason for it, and it doesn't mean that you can't handle it. I would love to, go back to school because I think it's still important. You don't know. I love music, but you don't know how long it will last. And I'm going to do music for the rest of my life. I just don't know if I can always make a living off of it. So I think it's important to always have, a backup plan. Right. I mean, music, I'm so happy to do music because it's the thing I love and feel passionate about and have always wanted to do. But I think it's important because there are other things that I find interesting too. And we'll just have to see what